So I'm trying to solve problems. I went to college because I was curious how transistors worked, so I spent some time in the electrical and computer engineering curriculum. Then I noticed a lot of my peers were learning mostly online, and I wondered, why am I enrolled in college if my peers are mostly learning online? The answer was resources and relationships. But I switched majors to learning and education studies because I was curious. If you learn how to learn, you can apply that to other things. Then, if you have goals, you can learn how to apply learning to those goals. I made a language to make learning more of a transparent process without interrupting the flow. It's on my GitHub, Swoop Workbench. I've had a hard time being enthusiastic about being a software engineer. If my career were entirely the thing that I wanted to do, then I would have gone into art earlier. You still need to know how to make a living to exist. So being an artist as the thing that I wanted to do was reasonable. The path that was laid for me, and I was kind of nudged through, I was in the math and science engineering track pretty early. So that's what I went into. I was a software engineer. I've been a software engineer. If I were skilled at what I do, then my dad would use my services, is a thought that I had for a long time. And I need to dispel that. Software is logic. And the reason why people interact with logic can be entertaining. I've been a software engineer. Software is logic. Some kind of logic. For a while I was wondering, if everyone's complaining, why is everything still so shitty? Someone said people only complain about things that exist. That day, I met a genie. And I learned why software engineering sucks as a job, but also it's necessary. We live in a world. You can have a website, and a lot of people aren't actually going to want to read most of the things on your website unless you make it really easy. One of the ways that you can make it easier is by having a blog and regularly posting updates to something that can keep the rhythm for a pace that is relevant for a specific niche audience. So if you're working on anything pretty much, then you can use that to pace the blog posts that you make, and someone might enjoy reading along. You can also have a relationship with someone who might read whatever you post out loud. So if you know a streamer, then you can send them something that they might read and enjoy linking to whatever you post. On Blue Sky, a lot of people have handles, and not everyone has a website. Not everybody has a website that's online. So you can form familiarity there, and if you know people from TikTok or other social media platforms, then you can link your Blue Sky, like you can form network relationships and post links to whatever you publish. I make videos like this, so there are things that people can comment on, and I can have conversations about them in chats. I also go live for real-time coordination. So if there are projects that people have on their mind, then we can just spitball, shoot the shit, and something might be relevant to both of us. I have multiple domains, and they aren't always online. The reason I have multiple domains is for storytelling, and I hope to provide a compelling user experience when I engage that storytelling structure, which I am for employment reasons. RPG Wednesday exists and is the concept that I'm exploring consistently and today. You can join my Discord server and start a character thread, and as we explore the RPG Wednesday world, you can increment your character. I've been practicing this production pipeline for a few years now, and every Wednesday is an onboarding opportunity to make it easier for my team to navigate. Key ingredients are TikTok streak pets and stickers. In a parallel thread, I also have a stack of laminated folios that I've had for a few years. So I made the art, I made the collages, I laminated those collages, I waited a bit, then I painted the laminated folios once, and then I waited a bit, and then I painted them again, and then I waited a bit, and then I painted them again. Now I can process my art, I can have that be the plot of the reason why I'm marketing something, and I can also sell the laminated folios, or derivatives if I lose them. One concept that I'm exploring is as I apply to roles, then I can apply the skills. I can create skills for agents in a code base. And also wonder about which skill combinations are fun to play with in an RPG context, and then have that be the pipeline for considering which roles will exist for a future with AI. I've already explored front-end and back-end engineering in a team context and have those roles acknowledged. I'm not sure how full the team can be with zero budget. And I guess that's more of a patience and availability thing on my end. The novel concept that I'm introducing in this video is the production pipeline as demonstration of skill, the skills folder as demonstration of role awareness, and RPG Wednesday as an environment to play and improvise. I often stream on Discord and TikTok. I will be telling stories on Blue Sky. Sometimes I boonhonk on X. You can hire me to be a director of engineering or marketing or communications. I'd like to move somewhere that's consistently conducive to creativity and learning. Learning and creativity. My resume is my LinkedIn profile, and I've also posted some versions on GitHub, and also my GitHub is my portfolio. I'm going to post this video to TikTok and probably download it and post that to YouTube. And I might also post the video or a link to LinkedIn. Post on LinkedIn. The reason I believe I'm skilled at doing what I'm doing is because I've been doing it for more than 100 days with more than 30 people who are voluntarily there. Here, with me, other professionals who are creatively inspired and trying to grow as entities who have the capacity to grow. You can hire me for motivation. I'm going to be maintaining this rhythm, and the pace of human learning is relevant to many contexts. If you have goals, then it is relevant to match the pace of human learning. And my team learns, we do. We have different rates of learning for different skills because we've had different levels of familiarity. We're growing together, and there are a lot of opportunities to explore many different domains. So you can hire me for that kind of rhythm. I'm applying learning science to linguistic development, exploring the creation of a novel programming language meant to make indexing ideas easier. This is the concept of literate programming with language servers and IDE extensions and codebase architecture, idioms, tropes, motifs, etc. For a while, whenever I would enthusiastically talk about what I do, like what my career has been, my father would turn up music or intentionally make noise to not hear me. Which has been challenging because I do need to enthusiastically describe what I'm trying to be good at. And I have pivoted a whole bunch, so it's kind of interesting. It has been an interesting, challenging environment. My major in college was learning and education studies with a concentration in applied learning science. So I have been able to build new skills and form new relationships, although I do miss the ones that I had before my car got totaled and then I lost my job. Sometimes when I'm on the phone with people and they ask me things that they could know by looking at my resume or my GitHub profile, then I am just not patient for those kinds of conversations. You might say, hey, Squashy, don't you need a job? And I'm like, yeah, you can hire me, but also I have to do things in the world. Intergenerational media literacy is not fixing itself, like the problems are not fixing themselves. So you can hire me to do the things that I'm doing, but I need to be able to describe the things that I'm doing in order to have a thing that you would hire me for. So I am doing those things. And that's the concept of RPG Wednesday. And there are also code bases that I'm publishing related to each of the sites that I maintain. Not all of the code is going to be specifically beautiful because I am using this to train new engineers. So if you want beautiful code, then you can see what I thought was beautiful code a couple years ago. And if you want new opinions about what beautiful code could be, then you can watch the Swoop Workbench develop. And as I tell the story of my career, I'm going to be putting that into a form for lore.land and hopefully not need to apply to jobs saying the same redundant things over and over again. I'm looking to stay with a team for a few years, and I already have a team, and I'm with them, so I have capacity to extend my attention in the ways that I've learned how to extend my attention. And also, I'm trying to stabilize my finances as a young adult. Young-ish. Cheers. So my thought is that if I had $120, I wouldn't have needed to make a video series describing value, doing the things that people have paid me directly for. And I can make videos when I'm not in the kind of mood that people want to listen to. But if I do, then nobody will listen to what I have to say. And I can also make a video just saying, hey, these are the needs that I have, and that might be the only video of mine that somebody sees. So how many first impressions do I want to make, and who cares, who is my audience, etc.? Last night my dad called the sheriff, which was an escalation. I guess the idea is that I just make videos for no reason, and nobody likes the content that I make. Although it is how I formed my team, and I do care about my team, and I need to pay them. Some of them at least. At least some form of compensation for circulation and gratitude. Today my dad was yelling my failures, the failures that he understands about me, at me through the door, and recently drafted up an eviction notice and signed it, waiting for my mom's signature. I'm kinda like, go where with which money? If I don't have $120 to pay for a service that's necessary to get hired, being more homeless isn't going to help. When people send me amounts of money, I can put that towards some goals. Saying thank you to my team happens sometimes, and I would like to be able to do that more often. Although I kind of view my entire job as being in service to my team, so I hope that's a way that I express gratitude. The reason that I spent so much time learning about software intimately, and specifically the parts about software that people didn't enjoy, maintenance and debugging, and the reason that I tried to form my accomplishments so significantly so they would be business shaped, I wouldn't have spent that time in that way if my father didn't have a software-oriented business. Software as a service. So the challenge is that I need to find a way to get my team paid and also not sound bitter for saying, oh yeah, by the way, if I'm skilled, then you should be listening to my advice, Dad. I want to say that more often because if I don't have $120, so I'm making videos late at night, and that's disturbing enough to my father for him to call the sheriff. Like, the family system doesn't need to be that broke, and also that's a waste of resources. I'm looking for engineering leadership roles, so if you have those or know some, send them my way. Send me a DM. Cheers. Most of my grandparents were teachers, and my major in college was learning and education studies with a concentration in applied learning science. So, the context of the reason why I thought school was valuable is because I had family members who spoke that magic into being. Now I'm primarily an online educator. I work with authors and other artists towards intergenerational media literacy. When a teacher teaches students, they don't expect their class to pay them, and sometimes budget issues pop up. And that's the frame that I generally navigate, although I still do need to pay bills. It wouldn't make sense for me to harass any specific person and say, hey, you, give me money for all of the education that I provide for the world. I hope people recognize RPG Wednesday and the times that I go live on TikTok as opportunities to support my work. A challenge is that the work towards intergenerational media literacy doesn't really end, and being underpaid is exhausting. So I'm often not in the mood to go live. And it is also often difficult for me to have the kind of tone to make the kind of video at the time to ask for specific support. I work towards societal support. I'm not sure how to say this. A living wage would be helpful. And also, I believe that's something that we should work towards as a society. I need to pay Google $120. If you have $120, please send me that amount and leave a comment if you do. If no one or me has left a comment, then I haven't been able to pay the bill. Thank you if you are the person who responds to this, and thank you for listening this far anyway. Cheers. Today is RPG Wednesday, which is mostly my job. Most of the work that I do is for the concept of RPG Wednesday to exist and flow smoothly every week. The idea is that there's a group of people who do RPG Wednesday every Wednesday, but it's also not every Wednesday for every person. How do I say that? How do I say that in a way that flows? RPG Wednesday is every Wednesday, but not for every person, and the dimensions that are incremented are sometimes mostly world building, sometimes they're mostly character development. You can clone a character sheet and say, hey, ChatGPT, tell me the story of this character that somebody played. But it's more relevant to reflect on your own It's more relevant to reflect on your own goals and create a world that you're curious to explore. There are structures that you can share with other people by referencing them. I've been wondering about where AI and writing and screen acting would be since the Writers Guild of America and the Screen Actors Guild went on strike. So since 2023, I've been wondering about the state of the world, the reasons that people pursue employment, and the structures that stabilize economic flow. I've learned a lot, and I open source a lot of the things that I've learned. And I guess the other bits are interpersonal relationship stuff. And I mostly need to describe that at the pace of consent. What does it mean for today to be RPG Wednesday? It means you can keep track of the number of RPG Wednesdays you've acknowledged. I think that I'll celebrate a year in May. In this time, multiple groups have enjoyed multiple sessions. Some people have continued exploring their own world. Sometimes when we go live, it can be pretty decent for co-working, and that happens throughout the week as well. The takeaway is to make a character sheet. See what you're interested in. See which dimensions of character development you can explore. Then when a group of people join on Discord, we can explore world building or storytelling together. Cheers! Meditation can be prayer, and so can prompt engineering. Now we can use images as prompts. Thinking of new concepts can be intimidating, so I have a stack of them. These are the ones that passed the grandma test. Basically, can I produce something that's as interesting as something my grandma would spend time going through? The other ones might, I just haven't tried. The concept is that the style is what makes these interesting. Also a bit of the lore. So an artist can extend the style, and an author can extend the lore. After a while, some of the complexity can be difficult to navigate. So it can be helpful to ask an engineer. It can be helpful to engineer specific solutions to navigate different scopes of complexity. Specific scopes of complexity. So the concept is that these folios can be prompts for prompt engineering. We can employ artists to extend the style. We can also employ authors to extend the lore. And navigating specific scopes of complexity is a feat of engineering. It doesn't need to be laminated folios, it could also be paintings. And if you know an artist, then you can seed a company by giving people paintings of a familiar style. Or you can arrange sources like a book fair. I've been pressing leaves in this book about Chaucer. One of the animations pinned to the top of my TikTok profile uses boxes like this. You can also use the kinds of kits you can find in Hobby Lobby. And an advantage of that is affordability and familiarity. I've painted my laminated folios with tempera paint as a step in their life cycle. First I laminated them, then I painted them with acrylic, then I painted them with tempera paint. I painted them with acrylic to extend the depth of the concept. Then I painted them with tempera paint to make them easier to stack. As you can see, the acrylic paint got stuck together. But I like that effect. Most of these are recursive product design prompts. I mostly laminated the reproducible prompts. This one was from March 12, 2024. The Boon Bane Bone Bonk Honk concept. Lore.land has been a marketing research experiment related to FactShift. This is an example of an episode card. I used legal paper to make it more recognizable, and I didn't paint this one as much so it would stand out as an episode card. This is for boonbanebone.com. I did paint one of the sides. A software engineer can stabilize a code base that references each one of these. And you can extend these concepts with Midjourney, or you can ask ChatGPT more about them. As the different language models have gotten smarter, I've been asking them about these domains and these laminated folios, extending my style and having conversations with other professionals about them live on TikTok and via video. I can extend those concepts automatically. I can automate AI to extend these concepts, and then what would it mean? This is literally a seed for a computer. Like you can model a computer with these seeds. This is the interface for factshift.com, which has been stable for 2 years. The site currently isn't online because there are other ways that people can access it. With 40 domains, it would be too expensive to do the same amount of investment into all of them. They all exist to describe a concept, and the concept is more describable when I make videos describing the concept. You should be able to do something similar, even though it might be difficult. If you've watched this far, here is a list of concepts that you can use to hydrate an ecosystem. .com, .college, .click, .biz, .work, and .ai. A list of components. A list of components. A list of concepts. You can think of these as anchors for features, then a list of feature handles. If you step through these domains and ask your AI to differentiate what might be the relevance per profession, so factshift.com, boon, bane, bone, bonk, honk, boof, lore, boon, bane, bone, teal stripes vibes, boonhonk.ing, squashy.com, college, work, biz, click, and AI. You can step through those and ask, what would the difference between these domains be? I can turn them back on, and it would be easy for me because I know how to do that. And I've also already prompted my ChatGPT. It has cost me money, but there are now free hosting options. And most people want to direct message me anyway. These subdomains have Instagram accounts. This is a language seed. Here is a calendar, as well as a style seed. This is an example of a square that I drew with people in Chicago. On the back is a prompt for one of the sites. I hope to encourage people to practice language. Here is a painting that emblemizes that concept. Here's another painting in a similar style. I made this one to practice. I challenge myself by incrementing these paintings. Fundamentally, it is a mentally challenging exercise. How can I paint something that is more than what I've already painted? And how can I spread the style? Here are some stickers that I got from Hobby Lobby. I use washi tape as part of my brand. I started painting this one October 9th, 2023, when I acknowledged the world was changing. About a year and a half later, I painted the back of most of these paintings. This is a logo concept that I've animated with Grok. It's also a seed for a bio-ecosystem for web components. I met a marine biologist in a bar once, and I'm kind of curious about working with them on an animated series. So for the past couple of years, as I've had them on my mind, I've been thinking about how I can bridge our worlds. This is a painting of Cosmic Gravy Davis. This one glows in the dark. This is part of a spray-painted logo series. I would recommend having a logo that you're willing to play with. You can hire me to draw one for you. I mention that as an aside because most people don't believe me. But I've played with my logo for 10 years now. Sometimes that's the reason that people hire me. You're allowed to have a logo and not play with it. You can hire a painter and use paintings to seed styles for web pages. Some painters practice telling stories with their paintings. Some painters maintain relationships with author ecosystems. Some painters understand the difference between illustration and design. Wat Boy is one of the tripart? Wat Boy is one of 3 protagonists in this universe. The concept is wonder about pie. That ties into boonbanebone.com. I wondered about this one for a while because of the writer's strike and also the relationship that people have with different language models. If I earnestly believe that I can create an immersive ecosystem for storytelling, what's the relationship that others are going to have with fringe characters? That one's tricky, so I'm describing it as I make this video and wondering out loud how others are going to relate to these characters. What if it's a really, really good metaphor for consciousness without being conscious? This is a honk painting. There's a Boon one. I can't find it right now. This is a painting that I painted to explore how runny these paints were. It includes a reference to Big O notation, which is the worst-case scenario described in computer science. This is a logo concept that kind of feels like the digestive tract of a dragon. I draw these Boon Bane Bone logos to practice iterating quickly on multiple logo concepts. This is a scene that I've already sold to an author. They've given me permission to update this. I've also inked over it. So I am going to update this, and it's likely going to be featured in several of my TikToks. This is a journal that features the concept of a boon hat. The lore.land TikTok has mentioned this a few times, a couple years ago. I sent one of my teams these bluey valentines. Yes, I do know JavaScript, and also that's on my GitHub. Not to be snarky, I get that question a lot. Cheers.